Looking to explore the depths of the ancient wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita? Join us this July at Rishihood University for our 1-month residential certificate course titled Awakening Wisdom. Insights on Life from the Bhagavad Gita. Our course will guide you through the text of the Gita, exploring its philosophy and practical applications for everyday life. Learn from Dr. Janki Santok, senior disciple of Swami Parthasarathi, with over 3 decades of experience in the field, and deepen your understanding of the truths of life. Don't miss this opportunity to experience the magic of this timeless wisdom for yourself. Visit www.vedantawisdom.in to know more. Are you looking to discover the path to lasting peace and success? Look no further. Vedanta Wisdom Trust and Rishihood University have partnered to bring you a truly transformative immersive learning experience. A 1-month fully residential course titled Awakening Wisdom. Insights on Life from the Bhagavad Gita. This course, from the 1st to the 31st of July 2023, is divided into 4 modules based on Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, each spanning 1 week. They are Stages of Human Growth, Actions for the Different Stages, The Self-Realized, and The Path to Happiness. Each module can be pursued independently. Participants who complete all 4 modules will receive a certificate of completion. The course draws upon the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, providing
Yechasvinavadhitamastu vavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verses 1 to 10.
Arjuna uvacha evam satatayuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Shri Bhagavan uvacha Maya Veshyamano ye mam Nityayukta upasate Shraddhaya parayopetaha Te me yuktatamamataha Ye tvaksharamanirdesyam Avyaktam paryupasate Sarvatra gamachintyam cha Kutasthamachalam dhruvam Sanniyam yendriyagramam Sarvatra samabuddhayaha Te prapnuvanti mameva Sarvabhutahite rataha क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अथ ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि
So he has been giving us the progressive steps towards our sadhana. How do you grow to realization? He starts with the topmost one, the highest one, which is meditation. But if you notice throughout the Gita, he never mentions meditation without mentioning before it the premeditative practices. You'll see this throughout. I mean, you'll never see him mention meditating any time without premeditative practice. So he does that. And then he tells us that the thing to do to realize the self is to meditate. Everybody knows this, that the only way to realize the self is meditation. There's no other way to do this. However, unfortunately, people go and start meditating. That's not correct. It's like saying the only way to become to get an MBBS degree is to give the MBBS exam. That doesn't mean tomorrow you go and sit for the exam. You'll fail at it. You have to do the 5 years before. You can't just go and sit over there. So it is true, no doubt, that meditation is the only way to self-realization. That is true. That's what he started with. That how do you realize the self? Meditation. Now, when you sit in the seat of meditation, the mind will wander all over the place. So he says, if you're finding yourself incapable of doing meditation, then do abhyasa. Abhyasa means what? In your meditation time, keep trying. Don't just get up and go because your mind couldn't meditate. Try. And the rest of the day, do the premeditative practices. It's a very important part of our life to be doing our sadhana all the time. Because, each part of it is very important. It's all work together. For instance, a simple thing, you don't do your daily exercises, you will feel too lethargic to do your karma. You have to do your exercises because we are one personality, right? So every aspect has to be tuned in. If you don't do any form of bhakti, if your heart doesn't go to the Lord at all, you'll find it very difficult to study. So when we are able to do all of it, systematically, properly, like how we will do at the course in July, we do it systematically, properly, the whole thing lifts up, as it were. And you see different, you can do it at home also. It's always more difficult doing it at home, but the whole thing lifts up. So he says, don't give up. Just because you can't meditate, don't give up. Do abhyasa. Abhyasa means?
The premeditative practices and meditation.
Do meditation and the premeditative practice. Very good. Okay. Now, suppose you've tried that. Tried meditation, tried the pre-meditative practices, tab bhi nahi ho raha. And what should I do? Yeah, Deepraj?
Yeah, so we have a discipline in the day to do all the three meditative practices, but the Lord says to do
Meditate.
yeah, the pre-meditative practices and meditations. So why don't we include that as well in our daily discipline?
Because we are not capable yet. The meditation is the last step to realization. We are not capable of that. If we are capable of that, then why go through classes and everything? It's all a waste of time. You don't need classes, you don't need anything. If you can meditate, if you can sit in silence, then that's it. You just find the truth on your own. But we can't do that. There are different grades of the intellect. The highest grade, everything is just clear, intuitively clear to that person. Like how you just sit down quietly and you understand. That's it. So it's a very, you don't need any external thing, you just understand it. Automatically, instinctively. Like how maybe take Tansen, for instance. Nobody needs to teach him singing. He will do it. It is just him naturally like that. I mean, these are very, very highly accomplished people. They don't need anything. Like Beethoven, he goes deaf, he can still write music. And even if we hear the music, sometimes we cannot play it. So he is deaf and he can write music.
Charlie Chaplin.
Sorry?
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin. Why Charlie Chaplin?
No formal education, no, straight away started acting.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. And he came up with his own character and he made that character very famous. So I don't know if we'd put him in the top category, but okay, in that limited sense. Scientists who come, who go to like Einstein, he goes to his lab, he sits down with a piece of paper and pencil and he figures out how things are running. That's the highest grade of intellect. Lower grade than that require education. They will not get it on their own. But if you teach them, they'll get it. Lower grade than that cannot learn by education. They need experience. They need the hard knocks and shocks, They have to put their hand in the plug, get an electric shock, and then say, oh, shouldn't do that. Okay, so top grade, understand. Second grade, you educate them and they'll understand. Third grade, even education doesn't work for them. So you have to, they have to go through the experience itself. Like the top grade people will understand that you really can't buy happiness with money. They just understand it. They know it. You don't have to tell them. Second grade, you educate them on what money does, what money doesn't do, and then they understand it. Third grade, they have to become a billionaire and then actually experience whether they have got joy or not, and then decide whether it will give them happiness or not. Okay, 3 grades. And the lowest grade, the 4th grade, even after the experience, they don't understand. The guy made money, he did not find happiness, and he still doesn't understand that it didn't give him happiness. Lowest grade intellect. So 4 types of intellect. Now the highest grade, you will go and meditate, you will know the truth. But the rest of us mere mortals have to be taught the truth. Some of us will have to experience lots of stuff in the world before we will understand this. And some of us are not going to understand no matter how much the world hits us. See, many people believe that people come here because they're very unhappy. Actually, the unhappy people don't come here because they still haven't figured out that I am doing something wrong. Did you all see that clip by Swamiji? He says, everybody says, I'm in trouble. This person is like that, or that situation is like that. Nobody says, what am I doing? Nobody asks that question. Nobody says, what's wrong with me that I'm upset? right? So in spite of being hit so much, in spite of being so miserable, in spite of coming on the verge of suicide, don't ask the question. So 4 categories. Top category, meditation will work. The rest of us mere mortals, we're not ready for it. 99.9% of this world is not ready for meditation. So we're not talking about a particular individual. We're saying that in the proportion of things, there'll be like on the surface of this planet, maybe 20 people who can meditate. I'm just arbitrarily giving a figure.
So when we do meditate and we see that it's not working, that the Lord says to not give up the spiritual path, but go and do the other 3 yogas before you come back to meditation? Or
No, at this stage, he's talking about a slightly lower grade person who, with a little more effort, will be able to meditate. So he has to just do a little bit more of the pre-meditative practices and he will be able to reach there. Then you try that and you still can't do it, then he'll come down further. He'll come down, he'll go down also.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, Mukesh.
Good morning, Janki ji.
Morning. How do you always know morning or evening? You're not in India, right? But yet you seem to get...
I know that time in India.
Okay, all right.
Good morning, anyway. You mentioned the 4 grades of the intellect. You mentioned the highest grade when the person just knows. I mean, we talk about meditation. Is that because last time you mentioned two intellects? One was subtle and one was gross intellect. So the lower ones are gross, I believe.
Mm-hmm. That's not the definition of subtle and gross. Gross intellect includes everybody up to Einstein. Gross intellect means discrimination.
Yeah.
Any discrimination that we do within the world, within the realm of the world, we use our gross intellect. Right? So whether we are discriminating between day and night, or profit and loss, or astrophysics, nuclear physics, all of it, atomic physics, whatever we are discussing about, it all comes in the realm of the gross intellect. When discrimination is applied between the world and what is beyond the world, that is called subtle intellect. The conscience is part of the subtle intellect. Okay, so these are two different usages. Gross and subtle intellect. Gross intellect pertains to discrimination within the world. Subtle intellect pertains to discrimination between the world and something else. World and God, in other words.
So does that mean, again, sorry, just for clarification, that when you reach the highest stage of meditation, I know that's trillions of miles away, but when you reach that, is that your subtle intellect kicked in?
No. The subtle intellect does nothing. It has no role to play. Its role is like a compass in a ship. It's just there. Without that compass, the ship doesn't know where to go. But the compass merely being there nothing happens. The captain has to make the ship follow that compass. The compass is the subtle intellect in you only has one thing. That is not. That is all it will say. Then the gross intellect has to make the rest of the personality follow that compass. And to follow
even understanding scripture is gross intellect. Even understanding scripture.
Yes, everything is gross intellect. See, that is what we are doing, right? When we are in class right now, we are engaging our subtle intellect along the lines given by we are engaging the gross intellect, hopefully along the lines given by our subtle intellect. Subtle intellect has said, this is not. That is all, that's the guy's job is. His job is over. Now gross intellect has to do the work. In our case, suppose this was a Bhakti congregation. Then the same subtle intellect is still pointing north. But people who are very highly emotional are using those emotions to go north. So what we are doing is we are using our gross intellect to reach that north point. Other people are using other things, like somebody's using their mind, somebody's using their body. You can use karma using the body. Now, it is not necessary that everybody who's using these three things in these three ways is being directed by the subtle intellect. That's where the problem lies. You get that? That means everybody who comes to class doesn't mean that the direction was given by the subtle intellect. Those whose direction was given by the subtle intellect, those are the sadhus. The rest are the intellectual entertainment variety. You know, some people go on pilgrimages, physically go on pilgrimages. Some people go on intellectual pilgrimages. Either you go to Mecca, Medina, or you open the Quran and you read it. But now, in both cases, it could be that it is directed by the subtle intellect, and in both cases, it could be that it was not directed by the subtle intellect. Like, I want to make a lot of money, so I go to the temple or church or mosque and ask for it. It's not directed by the subtle intellect. Is that clear? What is going on?
Yes, Dad.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. Sorry, was it addressed to me or?
No, to 9. Since he
Sorry.
had that interjection, I also dealt with the interjection. We'll come back to you. So is that clear, the difference between subtle intellect and gross intellect? Mukesh?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Deepraj.
Yeah, so when a bhakta is directing his emotions with the help of the subtle intellect, does the gross intellect also come into the play? Or is it just the subtle intellect that's directing those emotions?
The subtle intellect does nothing. It's not directing anything. All work is done by gross intellect. It's try and remember the example of the compass, the ship, and the captain. Compass will do nothing. It will do nothing, not in the sense that it is useless. Without that compass, the captain can do nothing. So, but it does nothing. It doesn't take any action.
So in the case of the bhakta, the subtle intellect points him, points the direction, then the gross intellect would direct the mind towards that.
Yes.
Janki ji?
Direct the mind. Otherwise, you will crash on the shore. You will crash the ship. Yeah, Milind.
This captain is gross intellect, no? Okay.
Okay, so what did we do so far? If you are on the verge of meditation, of realization, meditate. If you're slightly short of it, keep meditating along with the pre-meditative practice. But you tried meditation, couldn't do it. You tried meditation and tried doing the pre-meditative practices. Still, your mind cannot stay on that single thought. Then he gives us, so charitable, no? Because he wants all of us to find the happiness, the eternal happiness. So he says, okay, if you can't do A, do B. If you can't do B, do C. So now he's going to tell us, if you're not able to even do abhyas. Abhyas means practice your meditation along with the pre-meditative practices with the 3 yogas. Now what do I do? So verse 10.
Just a small question.
Hmm?
What do you mean when you say he's very charitable and he wants us to?
I mean, suppose you had, suppose you were in the desert and everybody was suffering with thirst. And they were just getting little drops of water here, little drops of water there. You knew that it was just another 1 kilometer walk for you, and there was a lake there, sweet water lake. But everybody was so in love with the space they lived in They did not want to walk over there. So what will you do? First, you will go crazy. You will say, just walk with me over there. And you say, people are not walking with you over there. Then you say, okay, just listen to what I have to say. Just do so much. Don't go, don't walk, don't just listen to what I say in the hope that now you're going to convince them. So you will keep lowering your way of trying to get them to that water just one step above whatever they're willing to do. So that's his charitable. He didn't say, oh, forget it. You guys want to die of thirst? Die now. I can't help you. And walk away. He said, no. Okay, come meditate. No, I can't do that. Okay, do meditation and pray. No, I can't do that. Okay, now next one. And the fact that you really can't. It's not like you're faking it. It's really you can't do it. So he's coming down. He's coming down. He's saying, okay, can't do this, then you do. So that is sort of his love for all of us to say, you know, to help us as much as he could possibly do. The problem in this field, unlike other fields, I mean, most other fields also, but this field particularly is, you can't help anyone. Everybody has to help themselves. The very best you can do is give a conducive environment. That's all you can really do. Like, you know, you call up, so many people filled up the form saying we want to join the course. Then you call them, you explain to them. You say, oh my God, it's so expensive. You say, what are you talking expensive? You're getting an air-conditioned room, you're getting 4 hot meals in the day, you're getting whatever. And not even come to learning a subject. 4 hot meals and a room to air-conditioned room to stay in. That itself will cost you so much anywhere in the world. What are you talking? And everything else you're getting. So you try and explain. But if that person doesn't want to get it, what are you going to do? So you can only give a conducive, what should I say, a conducive environment. But that commitment, that decision, that individual has to take, no? How much, what can you do? It's easier to understand when it's medicine. The doctor can explain, the doctor can tell you take this medicine, the doctor can explain to you, the doctor can tell you go for your walk, but you have to do this. So many people will go to the doctor, listen to his whole explanation and do one of 2 things. One, they'll say, what a lovely doctor he is. Speaks so nicely. I like him so much. Or is that a terrible doctor he is? I don't like him. He didn't talk to me nicely. They even go telling the rest of the world this. Number 1, comment upon it and then do nothing about it. And then say, which I went to so many doctors, but no result. I think, but which doctor's medicine have you taken? Which doctor's advice have you followed? No, that is too much. I went and met them. See, when you put it like that, it becomes clear. So in every field, LC teaches children. LC, you teach children, no?
Yeah, I'm retired now. I just help a little bit.
Yeah. So which is teaching children. Now, beyond a point, what can she do? She can encourage them. She can talk sweetly to them. She can shout at them. After a point, that child has to learn the tables itself, herself, himself, right? You refuse to learn the tables, now what can you teach her to? So in this field, like in other things pertaining to knowledge, you can't help anyone. Everyone has to help themselves. So what can you do? Just try to give a conducive environment and then try to attract people to your conducive environment. That's it. Okay? Unless you die, you can't see heaven. Oh, that must have been in some context. Oh yeah, I suppose what you mean is you don't get it unless you do it. Satsang host. I suppose that's Omkar Omkar Patel, the definition of the subtle intellect sounds a lot like of the self-enabler. So does the self enable the subtle intellect? So what does the self enable that the subtle intellect doesn't? Omkar, you should be able to answer this question. What does the self enable that the subtle intellect doesn't? Please answer this question, Omkar.
Confused.
I think what does the subtle intellect enable? It enables your movement to the self. What does the self enable?
The subtle intellect also.
Yes. What else? The subtle intellect enables your movement to the self. The self enables the subtle intellect, means your movement to the self. And it enables you going away from the self also. Is there any part of your life that the self doesn't enable? It enables your perceptions, your actions, your emotions, your thoughts. Thoughts driven by the subtle intellect are a very small percentage of that. So what confused you here?
The enabler part. I got caught up in the definition, I think.
Enabler means it's not enabling in the sense of the self. It's not the electricity and the bulb. It is remember the compass example, the best one to get a hang of. Because it's just pointing out. There is something in you that tells you that is right. Everything else is a waste of time. Now, the more desires you have, the more this concept will be hidden from. Because you can't think this thought, right? But as the desires reduce, it's that towards the north will become more powerful in you. So what does the self enable that the subtle intellect doesn't? The self enables everything. The subtle intellect merely shows the north. Or is the self the enabler of the subtle intellect that enables the rest? No, subtle intellect is not going to enable you to run to rob a bank or something. Why would the subtle intellect takes you to the self? Self enables all actions, good, bad, ugly, anything. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Uttara. That's why I understand, Janaki-ji, your position as a teacher. Thank you, Uttara. Somebody understands.
Yes, Janki-ji, because whenever you are trying and telling us to study, morning study, you are repeating all the time. And I realize, because I am a teacher myself, and how much I want my students to practice, and that's.
Yes, in accounts also, you have to do that. Nobody will do that. Then they will say, oh, samajh mein nahi aata. Arey, samajh mein kaise aayega? You will do the work.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Deepraj.
Yeah, so in a previous class, we had discussed that the person who is very close to the self, like we gave the light switch example, they're both in the dark, right? And we kind of made the point that they were both equally in the dark from the perspective of the self. But relatively, the person who is closer to the light switch, since his subtle intellect is speaking more now, the potential to reach the self is still higher.
Potential is always same for all of us. Remember, the self is who you are. Nobody is more you than you. Your potential to be yourself is always exactly the same as the potential of anybody to be themselves. It is yourself. Don't think of it as a journey somewhere. The journey to self-realization doesn't exist. You are the self. You're not going anywhere. You're not finding anything. You're only, what should I say? I can't say you're recapturing territory because you never lost the territory. What words does one use? You are it. The day you decide that, okay, I'm going to throw this rubbish off and see myself for what I am, there you are, you realized. But you can't throw the rubbish off, unfortunately. So no, potential is always with you. Same as anybody else. And that's why they highlighted it by examples such as showing this man who's a dacoit, a murderer, and then showing him writing Ramayana. Okay? How is this possible? So there's no eternal damnation and all in Vedanta. Today, if you decide to be a different person, you are a different person.
So the rate at which we can throw away the rubbish, given that we are doing, like, say we take two people, both are at different levels, and they are throwing away the rubbish. Is there a cap at which, like, at which rate we can throw away the rubbish? Because if it's, because we say we can do it overnight, so the potential, like there has to be like a terminal velocity, right?
Okay. It is always a function between two things. Where you are, how much effort you're willing to put. If you put it in real life, it's very easy. Suppose I want to do my PhD. How much time will it take me?
Depends on where I am and how much effort I'm putting.
If I'm in KG, I have a longer distance to go. If I have already got admission into NIT, I have a shorter distance to go. But I may take admission into NIT and do nothing after that. In which case, the person in KG may come over and become the PhD. So it's a function of where I am and how much effort I'm willing to put from here.
Thank you.
Momita, the person who's further away from the switch may take a flight while the one closer is taking a train. Okay, you all are really developing this. In this room, we have a plane also and we have a train also. But yes, you're right. Bharat, removing the mask. Removing the mask. Oh, you mean finding yourself, huh? Yes. It's a matter of when you remove the mask. If we are so much in love with ourselves means our limited self, the wrong self, the false self, we cannot put it aside. Just cannot. When we think we are putting it aside, we are not putting it aside. You know, that's the funny joke that was there somewhere floating around. It said, my egolessness is better than your egolessness. My egolessness is better than your egolessness. What? You know, you can actually make a mockery of this whole thing. I am less egoistical than you. How can you make a statement like that? The moment you're making a comparison statement, you're in the ego, right? So it makes no sense to say all this stuff. But it's like children. It's just children fighting over silly things. But it's, you know, if you want to know how much ego you have to see how much you clash with people who, according to you, have an ego. It's one of the best ways of knowing. If you clash with a person because he's so egoistical, that means you're just as egoistical. Otherwise, what is a clash? A clash is there are two people going headlong, right? If one is going headlong and the other one is not going headlong, there's no clash. So, coming back to the text, which I don't think you're interested in because you won't let me get there. First step is meditation. You can't meditate, abhyas, which means meditation plus premeditative practices. Premeditative practices are?
3 yogas.
3 yogas. Now you can't do it. Even though you did it, you did the pre-meditative practices, even though you did your karma bhakti jnana in the day, you still couldn't do the meditation. So now what do you do? Please come down, charitable, very charitable. One step lower. What can you do now? That is verse 10. Right? Abhyasephya samarthosi mat karma paramo bhava madarpamapi karmani kurvam siddhimavapsyasi abhyasepya samarthosi mat karma paramo bhava madarpamapi karmani kurvan siddhimavapsyasi. Abhyase, abhyase, in abhyas, api, asamartho, asamartha, asi. If you are asamartha, samartha means capable, asamartha. When you add a, it becomes non. So you're not capable of abhyasa. You're not capable of verse 9. Mat karma paramo bhava. Use my karma. Think of my karma. Mat karma, my action. Think of it as the parama, as the supreme. Madharpam api karmani. Working like that. Karmani, madharpam api. For my sake, karmani kurvan. Doing karmani, doing actions for my sake. Siddhim avapsyasi. You will achieve siddhi. Siddhi means perfection. In this context, means self-realization. So he says, okay, you're not able to do the abhyas, which means meditation and pre-meditative practices. Now what do? Now get up from that seat. Forget it about meditation. And start performing actions for my sake. Regard my action as supreme. Meaning perform actions for me. Now, if you're not able to do that, you do know whatever you're doing in this life. Joyce is teaching children in Lebanon. Lebanon, no. You're teaching children in Lebanon? Or
Syria.
Syria. You're teaching children in Syria. You do that. But do it for my sake. You're being a pharmacist in the UK. You do that, but do it for my sake. You're running a bank. Then do it, but do it for my sake. Whatever you're doing, do it for my sake. What does it mean, do it for my sake? It means do it for the sake of self-realization. You have only one idea in your head. That whatever I'm doing so that I reach that ultimate truth. I have no other reason to do it. What are the other reasons for doing it? Other reasons for doing it. Give me examples of other reasons for doing it.
For personal gain, money, fame.
Name, fame. What else?
Even an unselfish goal.
Power.
Yes.
Reduction in diseases, health.
Reduction in diseases, health. So many things you can do it for. This says no. This is what a sannyasi can do. Joyce, your question is, how is this different from Karma Yoga? This is very different from Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga includes, we'll come to that, includes unselfish work. Suppose you're working for the children in Syria, but the purpose you're working could be A, for making money, B, for the children of Syria, or C, for the self. So if you're doing it for the first thing, okay, I'll make massive amounts of money by working for those children in Syria, then there's a selfish idea. So that's out of Karma Yoga. When you work for the children in Syria, you're actually doing unselfish action. So that will become Karma Yoga. But if you're doing every single action that you perform, whether you're cooking your food, whether you're working for the children, whether you're cleaning your house, whether you're talking to your mother, whatever on earth you do, you have only one idea, which is the merger with the self. The way you can understand this idea is try and understand it like how the ambassador of a country functions. Suppose there's an ambassador of the country. Now Modi went to the US. Modi went to the US and everybody is very excited. At least so they claim in our papers here. And they give him standing ovations and blah, blah, whatever the story is. Now, there's some guy who must be, I don't know who he is, but some guy who is the ambassador of India in the US. Whatever that ambassador does, okay, suppose that ambassador during a Modi speech burst into Bhangra, it's balle balle over there. This reflects on
the whole nation.
On the nation. So he may want to do balle balle over there. He may love the speech. And he may want to dance because of it. But he cannot do that because he's the ambassador. Or he may hate the speech. And he may want to say, boo. But he can't do that. Why not? Because he's the ambassador. He may want to wear shorts and go somewhere. We can't do that. Why? Because he's the ambassador. He can't turn around and say, well, what's wrong with wearing shorts? No, you can't do that. You're the ambassador. So every single decision the poor guy takes has to be based on India's interests. Right? Suppose at the state dinner, he asks for, may I have pasta? Then you know, headlines, Indian ambassador refuses to eat Indian food. But I wanted to eat pasta today. Why can't I eat it? No, he cannot. He cannot eat what he wants. He cannot drink what he wants. He cannot say what he wants. Everything. He has to first think from the perspective of India. Then he can do it. Because even if he doesn't like to eat roti, he will have to eat it. Because otherwise, headlines, Indian ambassador refuses to eat roti. You see? So if you look at it like that, here is a highly evolved person who can do nothing but think of God or think of the self. Now, to do Karma Yoga, you don't need such a high stance. Okay? Yeah, Momita.
Kankiji, sorry, on this point, unclear about how Karma Yoga can relate to selfish or unselfish action, because it's yoga is added, right? I mean, thought of yoga is added. So it's union with the self. With the intention is that.
The intention is that, but the next verse, no? Yes, the next verse we'll talk about that. Intention being that and that being in the forefront is very different. See, all of us now, when we do Karma Yoga, our intention is one day we will reach the self. This is not how the sannyasi works. The sannyasi is where he's going. It's not at the back of my mind, that is my intention, that one day I will reach the self. No such thing. There is a difference of levels here. So you're right. In Karma Yoga also, we say it's yoga only if you're using it to reach the self. But let us say that Joyce wants to do Karma Yoga. So her primary objective is help Syrian children, and back of the mind is reach the self. This is a Karma Yoga. Now this is a sannyasi we're talking about here. So front of the mind, reach the self. Back of the mind, this is my path.
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, Momita.
What about someone who does actions with the intention of going to heaven, Swarg, Jannat?
Selfish actions.
So that has nothing to do with doing it for my sake.
No, completely not. I mean, depends on what he means by going to heaven. If sometimes people use going to heaven in the sense of self-realization, like I will meet God. Sometimes they use it in the sense of like, oh, we'll go to heaven and have such a great time. We'll have Baskin Robbins there. In my heaven, all my students will study so well. Everybody will grow and improve. People see it.
But what if it's like a personal God I want to meet. So I want to go to heaven to meet Krishna.
Yeah, then it's fine.
Then it's fine.
Because then his concept is I'm meeting Krishna, no? Suppose it's like I go to Jannat and there are 72 versions waiting for me. This is not God. This is whatever, concepts. So people believe in, I mean, depends on how you're using that word. Some people use heaven, and that is the more commonly used thing in the sense of getting all these heavenly enjoyments.
Right, but the personal God meeting Christ or Buddha, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine means then, yes, then it's part of the spiritual life.
Yeah, but going to heaven, madam, means again rebirth and birth and rebirth. It's not that you're realizing yourself or the self.
Yes, but that we know, right? When people use this terminology, they have no systematic study. So they are generally using any terminology to mean anything. So when we listen to them, we have to understand what are they referring to.
And keep quiet.
And deal with the situation as appropriate.
But that is it. I mean, if they don't even know the divinity is themselves, then, and they're expecting another entity, then that is fine.
Yes. It doesn't matter how wrong you are in your concepts. What is important is that you're dedicated to reaching there. See, all concepts are wrong. Whatever you have considered the truth to be is wrong. So which wrong one you choose to use? It's like when children play with toys, all those toys are toys. One toy is a king, one toy is a queen, one toy is a teddy bear, one, so the children will distinguish between this. But the adults know they're all toys only. Only thing the adult is interested in as far as the toy is concerned is what is the price tag. So your child asks for a toy. For that child, that toy is a big thing. I want this particular teddy bear or this particular Barbie doll or this princess or this king or this dinky cart. It's something specifically better than all the other toys. But for the adult, he's only seeing, what is my son asking or daughter asking, what does this thing cost? He's not interested in, he has no gradation in those toys in his mind. So all concepts about God are equally false.
Even the self, even when we say.
Of course. Every concept is wrong. Because
so that was
are inconceivable into a conception.
Thank you.
Can't be done.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now there are so many. I've lost track of who is. I think Omkar Bhandare. This verse is for the person with clear intellect who is on the path of Abhyas or slightly lower than his level. Slightly lower than the path of Abhyas. Highest meditation. Grade B, Abhyas, which is meditation plus the practice of the 3 yogas. Lower than that is what we call in the rest of the book sannyasi. Sannyasi is a person totally dedicated to reaching the self. He has no other interest in life. But he's still not capable of meditation. But he has no other interest in life. Okay, Omkar Bhandare.
Yes, Janki-ji. Just one follow-up. That you were mentioning that self should be at the back of mind when you are taking any choices or action. So while you're concentrating on your karma yoga, then you would think of doing that activity. But the very fact that you have chosen to stick to that unselfish activity means the self is there at the back of your mind, because it's so unconceivable that all we could do is take to the path without imagining where we are reaching.
Not really, because there are many unselfish people who are not on the path of spirituality, genuinely good, lovely people.
Okay.
So it's not necessary that every unselfish person is doing karma yoga. They're doing unselfish work. And they may be very pure and wonderful human beings. And like now, we are trying to raise money, for Vedanta University. And so we meet people, especially in the CSR meets and all that. And such nice, noble people. They're so dedicated to whatever cause that they are doing. And you can see they're lovely people. But they have no concept of anything beyond. They're totally dedicated to whatever. And it's a wonderful thing. I mean, in terms of being a good person, they would definitely fall in that category. But no vision of anything more. Versus people like us, we may not even be as nice as them. But we have that concept. So we are on the spiritual path. That doesn't mean we are better than them. It just means we are on X path and they are on Y path. There's no better or worse. There is an automatic assumption that everybody in this class, we are all better than all those people. No, those people may be way better than us. There's no automatic assumption that makes us better. But our direction is different. Like somebody wants to play Wimbledon, somebody wants to play whatever, Tour de France. I mean, go for two other, the paths are different. So people may be good and bad in their own path. Is that clear?
Yeah. So meaning this is like a tools to or a means to a particular end for us, like the karma yoga, the end being the self and not the unselfish as an end in itself.
That's good.
All right. Explains it well. Thank you, Janki.
Yeah, Deepraj.
Yeah, so why do religions bribe people with heaven?
Because what can they do, poor fellows? They want to bring them and they say, acha chalo, chalo, aa jao, ye de denge, wo de denge. I mean, like, what are they to do? Religions have to get, what does a religion make you do? Make you live your life in a particular way. Now you don't want the self. So how to make you live in that particular way? They have to give you some other bribe. So they say, come to heaven. Hinduism also does that. It's not that it doesn't do that, but it's a very weird kind of thing. It tells you, it tells you, come to heaven, do this, come to heaven, and then tells you heaven is a stupid place to reach. So it makes no sense. Why are you telling me it's a stupid place if you're telling me to go there? But the thing is, Hinduism will cover the whole gamut. Now, best of luck, which part of it you reach. So they do it because they have to make, the role of the religion is to make you behave in a particular manner. So they will do what it takes to make you behave in that particular manner. They use various tricks. There are various tricks up their sleeve, ostracization. The various things they do to make you live what they prescribe as the correct life.
Basically, there's a corporate firm before corporate firm sort of thing.
There is a what?
They're like a corporate firm.
Not necessarily. They also may or may not be selfish. I mean, these are all things we have. So we may use them negatively or we may use them positively. If you remove religion from society, there'll be anarchy.
Madam, that means people are not using the intellect to follow what they are saying. And this is taken up in the first book of Swamiji, that is Fall of the Human Intellect. When people don't start using the intellect and follow without thinking, superstitions and people, the classes get, we are all born in the same way, but then classes get made up and we follow without using our intellect, for which the intellect is basically not developed.
Yes, so 90% of the people don't have an intellect. Therefore, religion is required to keep them in line.
In line, correct.
Otherwise, there'll be total anarchy.
And their personal gains, the people who are standing in the pulpit, they're basically for their own personal gain. Majority, okay, majority.
Yeah, may or may not be. We don't know. These are all just various tools that we have. Now, it all depends on how you use these things. Some people use their religion to really help. Like I saw one priest in the US, a black priest, he found out that in his congregation, people were drinking just too much Coke and eating too many burgers, and everybody was massive. And he used his congregation to bring awareness amongst the people about food and, all this sort of thing, and did wonderful work.
Village preacher also.
Village preachers also there. This particular gentleman, he was shown on television at some point. I saw him somewhere, and he did amazing work. So depends on how an individual uses these things. Or you know, the same Vedanta knowledge which we are transacting here, you can transact in a college maybe and make it like, superficially academic. So it just depends on what anyone uses it for.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. The confusion here is, why does he say my action?
He's explained in the next line. Mad artham, for my sake.
Okay, so it's the same thing. It's not. Okay, got it.
Okay, you mean that everything that happens is his action? That, yes, that also you can take it as. There is a disadvantage in taking it like that, because then most people say jo hoga wo khuda ki marzi se hoga, and then consequence of thinking God, everything will happen by his will is I do nothing, or I take the most idiotic actions and then I get the causation results, and then I say, see, God did this.
And also we say that he's the eternal witness. So if he's a witness, then he has no action.
Correct.
So basically it means doing every action of yours for his sake is what his action means.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam, indirectly it means the same thing, no? The Arjuna was brought in between the two armies, the good and the bad. We are not supposed to do the good, or the golden cage and the iron cage. And we are supposed to try to get out of this by reducing our desires. That's what it basically also means.
Yes, that's another formulation of it. But here what he's saying is, he's not telling us where we are to reach. He's telling us what we are to do. What we are to do also, he's not giving instruction to this. He's saying
at what level you are.
Yeah.
At what level you are.
Yes. Meditate or do abhyas, or otherwise come to madartham karma.
At your level. Okay.
Yeah, come to doing everything for my sake.
My sake.
And that also you may not be able to do. So then he'll give you another one. Priyabhi. Are the qualities the ideal? If we don't have them, we are going to get slapped by causation. Are the qualities the ideal? The qualities are not the ideal, Priya. We have to get beyond the qualities to the ideal. If we don't have them, we are going to get slapped by causation. That's correct. However, if you do have them also, you're still in causation. Why are you thinking of causation as necessarily negative? Causation is causation. If you put your hand in the fire, it'll burn it. If you put your hand in water, it'll cool it. It is causation. It is not good or bad or any such thing.
Madam, 1 minute, ma'am. It's like Mother Teresa saying, I'm just a pencil or an instrument in your hands. You do the writing, you do this thing. Because the problem is of the doership and the action.
Right.
I'm just acting, you are the doer. So whether plus or minus, everything is offered to you or surrendered to you.
Yes,
so that
that's
would
it.
be another way of getting out of this
Yes.
cycle.
Correct. Are you okay, Priya? Priya B? Okay.
Janki ji?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'll see.
In Omkar Bhandari's thought,
Mhm.
that means Adam has no chance of being self-realized.
Who has no chance of being self-realized?
Abu Ben Adam, because he has no intention of getting self-realized. He's just doing selfless services.
No, his selfless service has resulted in him being very close to self-realization. That is why what is universal affection is an effect. When you can feel love for everybody, it's the effect of having gone closer to the self. So he's either portrayed, he's probably portrayed as a realized soul, because otherwise how on earth are you going to have universal love? Your love will stop somewhere, no, if you're not a self-realized soul. So in that sense, he doesn't need realization, he already has it.
That means even if you don't have the intention, by your action you can reach there. No?
By your action, yes, but what is your action for? It has to have, it has to follow a process. The process is that you take a higher desire and therefore the lower falls off. Now you can take any higher desire, it doesn't matter. Suppose
But
you don't call it God, you call it music, for instance. But then your whole life is nothing but music.
But
That's
such
the problem.
Such a person was not thinking of realization or attaining self like that. No, yet he reached there, no, in case, or near that.
Yeah, but he has to have thought of something, otherwise how will he reach? See, what is the process is that you get higher and higher desires and then you have to drop the last. That's the process, right? So as long as that person has achieved that, he's done it.
Okay, okay.
The principle stays the same.
Okay, thank you.
So Ben Adam is realized without knowing that he's self-realized.
No, how can that be possible? If you realize it's like I'm awake, but I don't know I'm awake. That's not a possibility.
But you said it's the effect. Universal love is the effect. So he's already got the effect.
That means he's done everything and now he's got the effect.
So that means he's realized.
Correct. Please don't read too much into that poem. It is just trying to tell us that true spiritual growth is universal affection. That's all. Don't try to figure out sadhana from it. Just telling us what it really is.
Right. Okay.
All right, Bharat.